Hi guys, this is Max here with another one of my award-winning videos. And today we are going to take a little look at the redistricting process, and I'm going to deliver you a little update. We will take a specific look at the states which have now passed congressional map proposals that were not passed by the time that I made my first video. Now, the first one here is Arizona, and there are 5 very interesting proposals. The most interesting one is this one, I believe, because compared to the old map, this very safely Democratic district, D plus 22, would actually become completely even and might be able to be won by the Republicans, which is pretty interesting because that was always a safe blue district. I want you to keep that in mind. Now, in general, I think that map looks good, and I wish this one is the one that they'll eventually end up passing. Next one on the list will be Illinois, and Illinois' map just looks like a piece of crap. I mean, that is an awful gerrymander. You could actually make the case for this being struck down by the courts. But what it does do is it creates a bunch of very competitive Democratic districts up here. So this could end up being a dummy mander, which is a gerrymander that fires backwards, and maybe in the end the Republicans will get 6 districts. But they already had like 7 lean Republican districts before. So that's a good map for Democrats, but you shouldn't be supporting that. Gerrymandering is a bad thing. And here in New York, we got 2 planned maps. Both of them look fairly okay. This one, though, packs all the Democratic areas of upstate New York into single districts, and it does do the same with the Republican areas in Long Island. So that's a very fair map that nobody could really complain about. But the much more interesting map would be this one here, because you have to admit, it looks pretty funny. See, considering the fact that this district here could vote to the left of those districts here down in Long Island, that's pretty funny. And also southern Brooklyn and part of Long Island would create a new 10th district. By the way, I'm personally very much opposed to gerrymandering, even though I made a gerrymandered map of North Carolina myself. It's not that I'd support that proposal, but I just think that's what they're going to go with, and I wanted to check out my talent. In Virginia, we got... Actually, every type of Virginia's maps are pretty good. I mean, they do give a pretty fair and balanced evaluation to the Democratic and Republican voters within the state. I don't really think that's a map anybody could complain about. It is pretty good, and especially compared to the old one, it is much more compact. Other than that, Arkansas has passed its map. It makes 1 Republican district more safe, but other than that, it doesn't change. There's one more interesting detail, though. According to the Civil Rights Act, I believe, all southern states are required to draw at least 1 majority-minority district. I don't know whether that's actually constitutional. I don't think that is, because I believe affirmative action is banned under the U.S. Constitution. It's just being misinterpreted nowadays. Anyway, in Arkansas, there is no majority-minority district, simply because it's not possible to draw one. Now, next up we got Hawaii, but while we're even looking at this, both of these districts are going to be Democratic. I actually don't even think that anything changes from the old map. I mean, some very tiny piece of border changes down here. I'll hold the pointer to it, but actually it's still the same map after all. So we can skip that. Idaho's map also doesn't really change, except this proposal. This one has a slightly different look than the old map. But just like with Hawaii, it doesn't really make a difference. Both of these districts are going to go Republican. Iowa has no enlisted proposals, but I do think that the Republicans will try to solidify 2 of the districts and maybe make 1 district more lean Democrat, or they'll try to get all 4 districts, I don't know. But it could also very well be that Iowa's congressional map doesn't get gerrymandered after all. Now, that one I already covered in my previous video, but I'm really happy about it. This is a map of Maryland, which is a gigantic improvement from the old one. I mean, that one just looked terrible, and this one is much fairer and much better overall. Okay, now, I think Montana did not have a proposed map the last time I did this video. There are a bunch of proposals. Some of them would create a safe Republican district and a competitive district, but these maps with a competitive district, they don't really look very good after all. I mean, they're very much more gerrymandered than the ones that give the Republicans two safe districts, and I think that's what eventually will end up getting passed, which is the fifth proposal that has two safe Republican districts. And for a state like Montana, that is something which I would imagine it fits. For the state of Texas, now Texas just is awfully gerrymandered, just like always. I don't even think we got to get into this too much. Just look at this district. I mean, it looks ridiculous. But even though the Republicans are really gerrymandering Texas, they're not essentially grabbing Democratic districts. They're just more or less trying to solidify what they already got. Now, I really don't want to talk about the Oregon map because that one was passed using ridiculous backdoor shenanigans on the Democratic side. It's horrific. I don't even want to get into it. We'll just skip that. But the Oregon map is pretty bad because the methods the Democrats used to get that gerrymander passed were really not normal. I mean, if they would have been fair and square with the process, the Republicans would have been able to walk out of the convention and get a different map. But on the other hand, Republicans are not really getting any fame. They're not really doing a good job in terms of drawing fair maps either. In fact, I would say that the Republicans did a lot more in the past to unfairly gerrymander against the Democratic Party. But as of right now, I think there's still one state that has passed a new congressional map, which is West Virginia. They lost a district, and so now southern and northern West Virginia will each be in a district. I really didn't like the old map because it stretched from the east side all the way to the west side. It looked kind of ridiculous. The new map still looks somewhat ridiculous, but not as bad as the old one. Anyway, as of right now, I believe that should be all. And both Republican and Democratic gerrymanders are bad. Both parties do it. Neither of them should be doing it. And I believe in order to support that great system of American democracy that we have, regardless of what party you favor, you should not be supporting gerrymandering either. But if you do, that's also your right. Nonetheless, I think we should get rid of this awful system and have one that is more fair to everybody. And we should laugh a little bit when a dummy mander actually ends up horribly backfiring for the party that conducts it. As of right now, guys, I hope you enjoyed this video. Likes, comments, and subscriptions are greatly appreciated. And yeah, see you next time. Max out.